Hello everyone and welcome to today's video. As you can see, I have this giant box here of a paint your own wood tea set kit, a very long name, and I'm going to paint this today, but first I'm opening the box, which was a lot like going to the chiropractor, and then after that it was time to unbox it, which I did upside down, but that's okay. But when I saw these little teapots, I was shocked because they are way smaller than I thought that they were going to be, so the box was very deceiving. But it's time to open up the package that it came with, and it came with some instructions, some stickers, and then all of the little tea decorations that it comes with, and it was some pretty sturdy wood, and it also came with these really weird shaped things which I wasn't sure what were at first. Of course we've got our paint, but I found out that those little shapes were actually cookies, which is so precious, and it made me about 10 times more excited, even though it's itty bitty. Like, I'm not even sure this pot could fill that cup without being empty, but anyway, I'm super excited to paint it, so let's get right into it. This craft kit actually came with some pretty cute colors. They're very spring themed, so I'm definitely going to keep this feeling spring because I'm in the spring mood. I just said spring about 15 times, but anyway, I'm starting off with the little cookie plate, and the first thing that I did was just give everything a base layer of white. I wasn't sure how well the wood would take the paint, so I figured we should just give it a little coat just to make sure that everything goes on nice and smooth, and so I don't have to do 15 layers. But then now I'm bringing in my heavy body acrylics, my good paints if you will, and I'm going ahead and mixing up all of my colors out of the primary colors. I like to do this, that way I can get the exact colors that I want, and I'm starting off on this plate like I said before, and I'm gonna do it spring themed, and I had an idea in mind for this project. I know that's crazy, usually I just wing it, but I actually had a plan this time. So I went ahead and started off with a green pasture, if you will, a green little grassy section of land, and I went ahead and added in a whole bunch of different shades of green to try and make it look like grass. I had a horribly difficult time opening up all of these paints, but once I did, I decided to try and use some of these for other colors, and I did some purple mountains in the background. And this paint in this set from the kit was definitely a little more liquidy than usual. I feel like the paints from these kits are usually pretty good, but this one was kind of liquidy and a little bit disappointing. But that's just the tea. Get it? Because it's a tea set. But anyway, then I continued to color in the mountains. I added in some blue and some pink to kind of give them some extra dimension. And then after that, I went in with this brush and did a whole bunch of little dabs all over the painting to add in some trees. And I used this dark foresty green to add them in and brought that down through the rest of the painting to tie it all together. This was actually a lot of fun to paint because, as you can see, the paint is going on really well and really evenly. It didn't take 15 layers of paint to get something to look opaque. It only took one. And I think that was because of the material and maybe because I put a base layer of paint down. But overall, it just stuck really well to this wood. And I don't know what they did to it to make it stick so well, because I've painted on wood before that like the paint just doesn't stick to. So this worked really well as a surface to paint on. So then I did the sky, and I kind of did this pink to blue fade, kind of like a sunset, and added in some romantic and whimsical clouds. And then it was time to work on the fields, and I wanted to make this look like a flower field that had millions of wildflowers all over it. So I just started in with my little paintbrush and started adding in a whole bunch of dots. I am curious how many dots I put into this painting, because I started off with doing white dots to make some white flowers, and then I switched over to orange, and then I switched over to purple and yellow and pink. I didn't do blue. Blue is like the only color flower that I didn't put in this field for some reason, but I did do every other color, and I just basically put a million dots all around, and I tried to make them smaller in the back and bigger in the front. That way it kind of looked like it was supposed to, you know how your eyes see things bigger when they're closer. And then after that, I was pretty much done with that part, so I touched up a couple of areas, and then I wanted to paint this outside part of the plate. It looks like a flower to me, which I'm sure is part of the point, so I went ahead and made those little curly edges white. And now it's time to move on to the cookies. I'm going to show the plate later, but for now I'm going to keep moving because we've got a lot of parts to this tea set. But for the cookies, I wanted to start off doing this first one, little golden, and I added some crispy pieces looking like edges, and then I had to hold it for a while, the first one, because I didn't want to put it down, but I'm impatient, so I paint every single side possible that I can, and then I just have to hold it. But I get creative with it. Like for this heart, I put it down and I just started slapping it around with my paintbrush. And for the last cookie, I wanted to do this one a chocolate cookie. I felt like it would be a good contrast to the two other ones, which are, I guess, like basic sugar cookies, you know? So I feel like this would give it some good variety. And then I added in some highlights to those cookies to make them look a little bit more three-dimensional and to make them look like their edges got a little bit toasted. And now it's time to do the frosting on the heart cookie. And I wanted it to be pink frosting just because I felt like that would be super cute. So I used the paint from the kit, and again, it was not doing its job. It was not doing what it was supposed to do, but I just decided to layer it, and if it had texture, that it would just look like frosting. So there was a quick sneak peek of the cookies, but again, I'll show them later. But for now, it's time to move on to the teacups. So this kit came with 2 teacups, and I want them to look identical. I mean, that would be ideal, but I'm really going for sisters, not twins here. I just want them to look like a pair and that they belong together. And I also want them to be kind of a mini version of the plate painting. So I'm taking inspiration from that and trying to match the whole set together. That way it looks like it goes together and belongs together. So I did the blue sky with a pink fade, and then I also did some grass at the bottom. And like I said before, now it's time to try and make these cups look identical, which would be ideal, but again, yeah, not going for exactly the same, but I am going for very similar. At least you can tell that they belong in the same cupboard together kind of vibe. So that's what I started doing, and then I added in some clouds to match it to the original painting. And I decided that for the inside of the teacup and the handle and the rim, that I was going to make them white. I felt like that would be a good idea, one, to keep the body the main focus of the cup, but also again just to match the original plate that we already painted. That way it all went together. Because I did the little scalloped edges of the plate white, I felt like it would make sense to do the rest of the cups white. This was a very satisfying process. It's always so nice to just kind of see your work get cleaned up and to see all of the messy paint edges just fade away. Like, look at that. That looks so much crisper and nicer, and it's just really fun to paint with white. That's part of the reason why I love a gel pen, but anyway, that's not what we're here to talk about right now. So now it's time to add in the flowers, which again, I'm adding in a million tiny little dots all over this cup to try and make it look like a flower field. And then I added in some pink dots as well to this cup to try and make it look like it had all of the same wildflowers that were on the original plate. And I just kept adding in all of those colors except blue because I didn't add blue to the original. And here's what it was looking like. I felt like it got a little bit messy, so I tried to be neater with this cup, even though I need to make sure that they look the same. I can't do really that much better on this one, you know what I'm saying? Because then they wouldn't match. But I did try to be a little bit neater with this cup, but we'll see if we can even tell at the end. And then I added in all of my colors to this one, and I think it's looking really good. But now it's time to do the little coasters for the cups. For now, I'm just starting it off with a green base layer, but it was the wrong shade of green, so instead of fixing it, I just decided to move on to the actual teapot. And in my opinion, the teapot is the star of the tea party, okay? This is the star of the show, and we really have to make sure that this one looks the best, basically. So I decided to do, again, kind of the same pattern and effect. I made all of the outer parts white, and I'm doing a blue and pink faded sky down to a green grassy pasture just to keep them all looking like they're set and like they belong together. So then I decided to work on the lid while I let some of those other layers dry. And for the lid, I thought it would be cute to do a blue layer for the top and then add in some other colors around it. But for now, I'm going to let that dry. And I definitely do a lot of jumping around here. I just have to let things dry in between, and I'm too impatient to kind of, wait and go back to the same thing. So I just use the color that I need to use when I need to use it. For example, I just used green, so let's use the green that we need to so that I can be done with the color green and move on to the next color. So I went ahead and put in this little field on the bottom of the teapot and then added in a whole bunch of different colors of green green to make it look like grass and like there were different hills and things in this field. And then I decided to use a lighter green as well on the little coasters. I want this to look like kind of an aerial view of the grass, like we're looking straight down onto the flowers. So that's what those are for. And then I also thought it would be cute to add a little bit of green to the top of the teapot just to add in some variety, keep you guessing. And then it was time to work on the coasters. I decided to do a little bit more detailed of flowers since we're getting a little bit of an aerial view and over top view. So I decided to add in a whole bunch of flowers, and then again I added in all of the different colors of flowers to make sure that it matched, and I made sure to do this on both of the coasters. I decided that it only made sense to go back and forth between them instead of to do one and then to do the other one. This will also help keep them a little bit more consistent. So far in the project, I felt like everything was turning out pretty well. I was pretty pleased with it all, and I complained about how small everything was, and while I still do feel like everything is definitely doll sized, I was actually really glad that it wasn't bigger because this whole set took me about 2.5 hours to paint, which isn't too crazy, but it was a lot more than I was expecting once I saw the size. So I added a lot more detail than I thought that I would, which was really awesome. I'm really in love with how they turned out, but it would have been crazy to see them bigger. I would have definitely needed to put in a lot more time and energy into them. I could tell by the end of this project that I was done drawing little dots. My hand wanted to give up. It was getting frustrated. Do you know what I mean? When you can tell, like, if you're really far into an art project and you just want to finish it, you can tell you kind of start to cut corners and get a little sloppy, and I did not want to do that. I was loving how it was turning out, so I wanted to make sure that everything turned out beautiful. So I went ahead in and added in some purple flowers to everything because I forgot them, and then it was time to add the finishing touches to the lid. So I decided to do white on the lid as well, and here's a little sneak peek of how everything turned out. I have to wait for it to dry, and then I'm going to varnish it all, and then I'm going to show you the final results. And here are the final results. You don't have to wait a day for the movie magic, but the varnish made it look so pretty and glossy, and here is the whole set together. I'm setting up our little tea party. I think it turned out so cute, and I'm obsessed. And even though it's really little, I think that just kind of adds to the cuteness factor that it's doll sized. Like, this is adorable, and you can't tell me that it's not, especially the cookies. They are just too cute and really added to the whole effect of the tea party. But here is the plate up close, and then the two little teacups with their matching coasters, which I think all of those turned out very good, and they do look like a pair. And here's the set all together. I think it turned out so beautiful, and I'm really proud of how it turned out. I think it looks so good. I love that they all match together and like go along with the spring theme. I like that the plate is the main center star with the bigger scene, and there's a lot to like about it. I just think it turned out really beautiful. Let me know what you think about this little tea set. I just wish it was real so that I could have an actual tea party with it, but like and subscribe if you haven't already, and if you would want to be invited to my tea party. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye!